This is Diane Barrett from the BE Collection. The date is June 14th, 2021, and today I'm interviewing Livia Thomas. Thank you, Livia, for coming here.
You're welcome.
And Livia, we're going to indicate your career as an educator. Would you like to add anything to that, or?
Yes, I worked primarily for 40 years with elementary school age children. Kindergarten, first and second grade mostly, but some third grade. And then the last 20 years of my career, I was an intervention teacher. So I worked with teachers and small groups of children, so K through 6.
Would you like us to break that down, indicate that you're an intervention teacher? I mean, it's already recorded at this moment. So.
That's what I was for the last 20 years, but I was also a first grade teacher and a second grade teacher. So however you want to do it, I'm okay with that. I've been all of it.
You had an impact on a lot of people and children.
Yes.
Wonderful. So
and they on me, I think, sure. More than yes.
I could never be a teacher, right? That's just wonderful.
But aren't you a nurse?
I'm a nurse, right? Teaching is.
My best friend was a nurse, and I could never be a nurse. So,
good thing we have variety in our life, huh?
Yeah, and we find our places.
Yes.
Yes.
So, where were you born?
I was born in Paris, Texas. It's northeast of Dallas, about 100 miles.
How long did you live there?
You know, I lived there. I grew up there and I moved away to Houston for my first teaching job, the Houston area. And I moved back and lived there until I was 30. And I
moved back to Paris?
Yeah.
Okay.
I needed to escape.
From Houston?
From Paris.
Oh, from Paris.
Yeah. Yeah. Texas is, you know, even though I was an adult and I wanted to move to California, it was a culture shock. It's very different than Texas. It's very conservative there. I grew up in the middle of the Bible Belt. I can only remember one non-conservative governor in my entire life living there. So it's very different out here.
I appreciate that. I'm from Chicago. Differences.
Yes.
Good. And I respect and I appreciate them.
Yes, but I'm glad I'm here. This is home.
Right. So when in your family, did you have siblings or?
I had one brother and I grew up in a home where my dad was a firefighter and my mom worked in a bank. And my grandmother lived with us. So we always had her at home with us. And I lived we didn't have a lot of money. I grew up in the Methodist church, not really religious, but I started playing piano and organ for different churches when I was 10 years old.
Wow, that's incredible. Huh.
Yeah. So
to make money. Are you still a musician?
I'm very rusty. I play the piano and I have it, but not like I did then. I used it. I made money that way.
Good.
Yeah.
That's amazing at that age that you could do that.
Well, my dad was kind enough to drive me around town to the different churches that needed someone to play for them. So sometimes it was just this little one-room, cold, no heat in the winter church and with an out of tune piano, and I got $5 for it. So that was a long time ago.
I understand that. My first job, I got 75 cents an hour.
Yeah.
But I was happy about that.
Yeah. I mean, I've always worked hard and wanted to give back to the community. So that was a great part of the reason that I chose teaching. But I think I mentioned the other day to you, I never wanted to do anything but teach. So even though that's a traditional job for a woman, I knew when I was a very young child that that's what I was going to do.
Was there a person or a situation that sort of led you to say, aha, I want to be a teacher?
Well, I think I started reading when I was somewhere between 3 and 4. I loved books,
Mhm.
and I still love to read.
You can
And
see all
so,
the books behind you.
oh yeah, that's just a part of them. There, I couldn't escape them, so I moved my desk around. But um, yeah, I think Miss Baker. She was a German immigrant who came to my hometown. I don't know why she came to Paris, but um, with her sister and her brother-in-law. They escaped Germany before World War II.
Mm.
And she lived in this huge 3-story home. And behind it, she had a little one-room schoolhouse with a little gate and roses on the gate. And it was one room. And there was a sandbox and a garden and a playground. And my grandmother paid for me to go there when I was 4. So I started kindergarten there, and there were only 5 kids. We did not have money. So it's when you think private school, it wasn't that like you might think nowadays. But she influenced me in many ways. She influenced me creatively. She wrote everything that she wrote the curriculum.
For her school.
Yeah,
What's the name of the school?
science, math. We had a
Oh my
music
gosh. Huh.
teacher. Yeah, she was old then.
Uh-huh.
But I would say Miss Claude E. Baker was my inspiration for teaching.
I can see why. So did
Yeah.
you incorporate in your own school um, flowers and sandboxes?
That's it. Flowers, sandboxes, not so much because,
Uh-huh.
um, I thought I wanted to have my own kindergarten. I taught kindergarten the first year down in a Houston suburb, and
Mhm.
it was fun, and I learned a lot from the women I taught with. But I realized I wanted a little bit older children. So I found myself in first grade where they really learned how to read. And that was what my love was, first and second grade.
Where did you go to college?
I went to college. It's called now East Texas State University, but it's called Texas A&M,
Mhm.
Texas A&M University in Commerce, Texas. I commuted and worked the whole way through. So, and
At
I
what
also,
point,
hmm?
at what point did you realize, get in touch with your sexual preference?
Oh my goodness. There was nobody that I knew that was, I didn't even know the word lesbian.
Mhm.
Um, I had crushes on
Mhm.
women. I realize now, but I dated boys,
Mhm.
and I actually married a man that was my high school sweetheart,
Uh-huh.
and it didn't work. Um, I didn't really come to terms with it until I was in my 40s, early 40s.
Ah, okay.
And I fell in love with a woman who was my teacher when I was going to massage therapy school, because I also did that.
Uh-huh.
And so it took me a long time, but I realize now that I had no role models. Um, the
Mhm.
only gay person that I knew was the brother of my high school English lit teacher, and he was kind of a pariah in town. He walked around town in a brown 3-piece suit with a brown bowler hat and a cane. And I was told that he was different and not to talk to him.
Mhm.
So, yeah,
Follow that direction?
I'm sorry.
Did you follow that not talking to him?
I did,
Uh-huh.
because I didn't know why he wasn't to be talked to, but I knew he was different, and I knew I was different, and I had an experience. This is back when they still taught typing in high school in
Mhm.
the 70s. And I took the class, and there was a woman a young girl that sat next to me, and she wore boys' clothes.
Mhm.
And um, she wasn't really in my circle of friends. And she left me a note and told me how pretty I was. And it scared me to death.
Yeah.
You know? And I did nothing about it. I wasn't mean to her. I
Mhm.
did nothing about it. But I thought, what?
Uh,
And then I had a crush on my dad. My dad died when I was 19.
oh,
And
sorry.
yes, and he was very influential in, I think, my ability to serve the community, and he had high integrity. And when he died, I was only 19 and I was almost finished with college. But his best friend had an only daughter, and we had grown up together, and I had such a crush on her.
Uh,
And I've wondered if he hadn't died at that time, and it was such a traumatic time for me, I'm wondering if I would have acted on that with that girl,
mhm.
but I didn't.
You still have contact with her?
I haven't seen her in years. No.
I'd ask her.
Yeah, no. Although some of my childhood friends I do know are lesbians now, which is interesting. My three of my best friends,
Uh,
but we never talked about it.
no, I understand that.
Mhm.
So then how did you come to California?
Um, it's a funny story, I think, because I I I donated to MTV. Remember when it was on and there was an AIDS, We Are the World? It was
Mhm.
that 1983 or 84. And I talked to a gay man in San Francisco.
Huh.
And when I bought the t-shirt, and I don't know, I wanted to move. And so I made the necessary arrangements to move. And I came out here and found a job in Danville, California.
Where?
It's Danville.
Oh, Danville. I know where that is.
Yeah. And I taught children that were privileged in a community that was privileged, and mostly white kids.
Mhm.
There were a couple of Asian kids, but my experience had been teaching poorer kids.
Mhm.
And that was my, in underserved communities, I would say. So I
Did you
ended up
come,
in Fremont.
did you come alone? Did you travel
Yes.
by
Yeah.
plane, by car?
No, I drove with my cat
Oh, good.
in a little blue Toyota Corolla. It
Uh,
was quite an adventure. I don't think I could do it today.
I know. I've been on Route 66 a few times myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Never in that, right?
I think it actually goes through my hometown.
Probably.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a long time ago. So this is home.
Mhm. Good.
Um,
So now where are you at with you were married, you said?
yes. My wife and I, Sandy, we met each other when we were 50 years old.
Uh-huh. Wow.
And so we've been together now, let's see, 16 years.
Mhm.
And we've been married since the night before President Obama was elected the first time.
Huh.
There was a window, if you remember,
Mhm.
Prop 8.
I do.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. From May until the night before the election, until midnight that night. And we got married at San Francisco City Hall with another couple.
Huh. Oh, great. So you
Yeah.
stood up for each other?
Yes, we did.
That's great.
Our Sandy's cousin and her aunt, she's passed on now, but they were not happy that we did not invite them, because the cousin and the aunt had gotten us together. So, yeah.
Can't
So
make
you
everybody
you
happy.
can find love at any age, right?
That's right. Have you looked at some of the other videos in the collection?
I have actually.
Right.
Yeah.
Somebody else came out at 50.
I know you told me. I haven't.
Right.
We went up to the mountains this weekend, and I
Uh-huh.
haven't had a chance
Right.
to look at hers, but yeah. So
So
Sandy,
you married a man. You married a man before you married a woman.
yes,
Uh-huh.
yes. And I discovered when I met women in San Francisco and in the area, some women don't take very, very lightly to that. But that's just how my life has been. And I was unsure for a while. I was unsure of my sexuality and how I wanted to live, and just even what was available to me.
Mhm.
And I know maybe that sounds crazy in this world of social media and everybody sharing everything, but I didn't go to bars. I didn't. I was really dedicated to my work, and there's a certain kind of way of being, at least I thought, when you're a teacher or a role model. So I was careful not to have anything that would affect my job. Um,
That's understandable. I learned through this, the BE collection, interviewing people, that there was a woman who I knew, Carolyn Glacier. You can look on her video.
oh yeah, yeah.
And she came at 60. She was interviewing for her first job in 1962, and she had to say that she was not a homosexual. See, I didn't understand that was happening even.
Yeah.
So I was enlightened by that. It made sense to me because I was in college then, and I thought, whoa, I sort of was looking for somebody who was sort of like me, different instructors, but if they were all under that same restriction, they couldn't really acknowledge us. I mean, outside of being, students.
Yes, yes. Like the word that can't be spoken,
Exactly.
And I know there's people that even now that I know in our circle of friends that are not really, I'm fully out. I was fully out in my work. I made that decision out.
Was that a difficult decision to come to?
It what?
Was it difficult to come to that decision?
No, not once I realized when I fell in love with a woman and I realized how I wanted to live my life. For the second half, I knew that I was not going to be silenced. And so I decided at many people telling me not to do that, that it was not a good idea to be out at work, especially since I was an elementary school teacher. And I just chose not to do that. And I'm really glad that I was open about it with my principals that I've had, with my colleagues. I lost some friends because of it, but I gained myself.
That's a good, I love that. You gained yourself.
Yeah, it was like a piece of my psyche slipped into place. And I'm trying to recall that time because I changed my name to something that I wanted to be called.
Really?
Yes, I did. Don't ask me what my old name was.
I won't.
It's legal.
I was changing my name though.
Yeah, I changed my name. I got it on my driver's license. I did everything legally.
You were ready for a change.
Yes. And, I found out most of my good friends at school were not surprised. They wondered why it took me so long, which I thought was funny.
That's pretty common, right?
Yeah, but I lost some friends. And but it was worth it.
Yeah.
You find out who really cares about you. And I think for my work,
don't become frightened about something they don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. And because I think my work, how do I say this? There's a sense of authenticity that children have that adults don't have, and they see the real you. I think that's why I love teaching little kids so much. They get it. They see the truth, whether you tell them or not.
They don't have so many filters.
Right. And so I had children after I came out sharing stories with me about their families, about themselves, about not feeling safe at school. So part of my work as an educator became devoted to safe schools for all kids. And I don't know if you saw that picture that I sent you of one of my students. It said anti-bullying.
I did see that.
That became, because of my principal, because of my school where I was at, it was a real community. that became part of my work there. I still was an intervention teacher working with children who needed help to accelerate their reading and writing skills. But we created a kindness council and a conflict manager program, and we painted murals. And so that picture that I sent you, that's very important to me. Yeah.
So was this before you met your current wife?
No, it was during the time. We already knew each other at that time. So,
How did parents respond to this?
you know, I think because I had a reputation of being a good teacher, a hard teacher, but I had a reputation in the grammar school community. I think that they just accepted me. And there were a few instances that kids asked me, because I put up a picture of Sandy in my classroom. I refused to be silenced with that. And I also put up a picture of her daughter, who's a grown woman now. We have a grandson, but they asked me if that was my daughter. And I said, well, yes, but I said, I'm married and this is my wife and this is our family. We're a family. There are different kinds of families. And so it was good for me because I could
express. When you came out, you came out.
I did. And so I had a mother who, I had her child, and she thought I had an agenda. And I told her that my life was not an agenda.
Right.
Yeah. So
accepted that. Would you advise young women today, since this is our record the past to inspire the future?
You know, I was just reading about in the newspaper today about the Gen Zers and the genderqueer community and the trans community. And I think there's so much more freedom and flexibility and possibilities for young women. But I would say to any young woman that she has to be it's not a light decision to come out.
Oh, it is not.
And regardless of how much is out there and available for self-expression in the LGBTQ community, you still have to come out on an individual level with your family, eventually with your work. And I don't think the work environment is necessarily free of bias and discrimination toward women in general, much less a woman who chooses to express her orientation.
I think teaching is one of the more difficult ones. We don't interview anyone under 30. Because we, even though I know some young women that would like to be interviewed, but I said, when you're 30, because they're not totally established yet in their life, in their careers. And I don't want to be part of jeopardizing that.
Well, I think they have to be comfortable. I think, I'm thinking of some people that I've worked with. I could pass for straight if I chose to, and I'm aware of that. And I'm not a woman of color. And that's another, I think another, not barrier, but another step that people have to take. It was easier for me being a white woman who was older and established in my community, in my education.
Good point. Education, I think.
Yeah. And even though my school was a Spanish bilingual school. So half of it was an immersion program in Spanish and half was an English only school. So we had a very diverse community and a very diverse teaching staff. But again, I was established there. And I think I shared a picture of a young man that I taught. And after I retired, the kids at my school, I did an art project with the 6th grade classrooms at my school, and we painted a mural on a building in the apple orchard where my wife was taking care of it. She was a park ranger, and this young man came back to me and thanked me. He's 22, and this was 2 years ago. He was going to his first Pride, SF Pride. And he thanked me because I had a conversation with him about being called a fag in school when he was in the 4th grade. He had been teased and teased and teased. And even though he wasn't sure of his orientation at 4th grade age, I had a talk with him and told him there was nothing wrong with him, that word was used to denigrate the gay community, and that if he was a gay person, that there was nothing wrong with that. And I told him I was a gay person, and gay people had families, and lesbians had families, and there were lots of different ways to find a family in this life. And he came to me that day, Diane, and he told me that he was so grateful for that conversation because I didn't turn away from him. And he told me he had, because he's a Spanish speaker, he had to face the whole Catholic thing. And so I didn't have to face that. I'm not a Catholic. My religion didn't keep me from choosing to live my life in the way that was right for me. So, I am so grateful for him because he can speak now for so many other people. So I still feel like
such an influence for him. I remember when I first heard that word fag, I thought, what does that mean? I was young. So I looked it up and I thought, I don't understand this.
It's really, it's really funny because I'll sometimes get the dictionary and I'll show them because that word was used more than dyke or Lizzie, but and I'll show them, in England it's a cigarette.
Right.
Yeah. So
I could not connect it, but later, of course, I did. But.
Yeah. And some kids, they'll come back to me and they'll say, you're a lesbian, aren't you? Mm-hmm. And I said, yes, and so, they didn't necessarily ask me, and in my teaching, I didn't bring it up to just talk about that. But if a question came up about family or they asked me if I was married, I didn't lie to them.
I'd like to ask you, since this is sort of a legacy project, if you knew that you were going to die soon, what would you like to be remembered for?
Oh, wow. Gosh. I think, I've been so enriched by the students and the families that have come into my life because of my career. I would like to be remembered for kindness and integrity and doing my best, always doing my best every day at my job, at my career.
You are very, very impressive.
Wow. I did what I loved. I did what I loved, Diane.
I think that's
I would say that. And I would say that to any young woman. Do what you love, what you can do every day, 8 to 5 or 9 to 6 or whatever you do what you love, not for the money. But,
that's what we're doing now.
That's what we're doing now.
That you and I and the project. But thank you so much for being a part of this.
Well, you're welcome.